Thank you very much, everyone. So yes, our plan is out. So it was published last October. So this presentation is going to be more about the considerations and the process by which we went through to put the plan together. There are quite a few slides because it's a broad-ranging plan, so I'll try and whiz through them as quickly as possible, and there may be time at the end for questions. If not, I'm around for the rest of the day, so very happy to talk to people offline. But, right. Here we go. All right, before just jumping into this, just a little bit about Recycling Victoria. As we heard earlier this morning, there's more than one agency involved in Victoria. So I'm from Recycling Victoria. So our purpose is that leadership, stewardship, and oversight of our waste and recycling resource recovery services. So we are sometimes termed a regulator. We don't do the kind of same regulation of individual businesses as the EPA. We're looking more at that systems perspective about how we make sure that we've got the capability and capacity that we need in the recycling sector in Victoria. We are located in DECA, our main department, but we don't have the policy lead either. That is with our policy colleagues in DECA, and we still have Sustainability Victoria, who are looking more at that market development space. But in terms of what Recycling Victoria does, so there we go. Those are the functions of Recycling Victoria. You can see infrastructure planning there, which is what the VRIP sits under. The other part that I look after is the strategic procurement. Now, that's not procurement from our perspective, that's supporting local government in procuring waste and recycling services, hence my title of sector strengthening. Also important that the VRIP isn't like the one document to rule them all, as it were. We have an annual market intelligence circular economy market report, and we have our annual risk and contingency plans. There's plenty of work going on in things like service standards, and also we have our existing policy document, also slightly confusingly called Recycling Victoria, a new economy. So again, not trying to do perhaps everything that is in the the New South Wales infrastructure plan. This is very much what infrastructure do we need, not the policy wrapping around it. But in terms of how we approached this, so it's not the first infrastructure plan that's ever been done in Victoria. For those of you who like acronyms, SWIRP is a great one, so I won't even try and read it out because I always get it wrong. But we had the SWIRP, and we had 6 or 7 regional implementation plans, probably nigh on 2,000 pages of infrastructure plans out there, last updated in 2019. But the VRIP is replacing all of those and has done so in a different way, because as you can see, verbatim from the second reading speech, the key takeaway is we're moving away from a plan which tried to put a very specific location for each of the facilities that we would need over the next 30 years to a more strategic approach, which is kind of looking more at the volumes and the capabilities we need and potential locations for investment, not trying to put those dots in the maps, which was a great undertaking, but I think is possibly a bit being too prescriptive and isn't really government's role in order to be that precise in various locations. So it's a more strategic approach. It's there to inform planning over the next 30 years. It's there to inform market investment, but also government decision-making. And importantly, as we get to it at the end as well, we have to do a new one of these every 3 years. So it's not set and forget. It is definitely the start of an infrastructure planning process. There we go. Perhaps not quite the depth and breadth of consultation we just heard from our New South Wales colleagues, but we did put out a consultation document to the sector to get their feedback on what we're proposing for the VRIP. It was a high-level consultation document, not the full VRIP, and what came back very strongly is that desire for detail, for analysis, for guidance on locations, for information about existing opportunities, for regional information as well. And of course, as we've heard this morning, and we'll continue to hear, I'm sure, throughout the conference, because it's completely correct, the importance of product stewardship and engagement with the sector. As I said before, the VRIP is not a policy document per se, but we're very keen that we make sure that we kind of locate it in that policy work and are cognizant of that impact of policy development, and also how, as you'll see when we come to the actions, how we fit in with the broader scope of work that is being undertaken in Victoria. Cool. So you can see we start with the system overview and policy context, plenty of maps there, putting it in terms of the strategic concepts of the policy development. But then going to the infrastructure needs assessment itself, which is the heart of the VRIP. So we have a lot of analysis in there. So we look at waste projections. It's not just the waste being kind of produced, but also where it ends up. So is it being recycled domestically or offshore? So that's kind of like the demand. Then we look at our capacity. So it's that demand versus capacity. I say it's projected demand based on our current trends. We're not going to say what happens if in the VRIP. It is based on current trends, but we do look at what the opportunities are. But importantly, we also have this capability assessment, because we realise that just saying what capacity we need isn't necessarily enough, is what type of capacity. And it's this alignment of aligning up the waste coming down the pipe with the infrastructure capability and capacity with the end markets. And then we look at that place-based assessment as well. And that ends up in a 2x2 overall assessment and some investment directions as well to guide the market. So what that looks like, I just picked organics. You can see all the waste projection date breakdowns, the source sector, etc. The capacity analysis, again, read the VRIP, you can see how those projections in terms of the reprocessing and also the overall stack up against our infrastructure capacity. We've got that capability assessment coming out some of the key issues, and then that place-based assessment. So like organics is probably one that is more suitable for regional circularity, whereas some of them are going to be necessarily fairly centralised markets. And we've done that across all of the waste streams, broken down by 3-year increments. So again, not expecting you to read this one, but then having that and then the near, medium term, long term and ongoing investment directions across all of the material streams, including then as well material recovery facilities and hazardous waste and residual waste. Landfill capacity, not quite in the same position as New South Wales, but not exactly sitting comfortably. That curve is showing without waste to energy coming in and based on current trends. Again, not assuming that we hit our targets, but this is current trends. So the plan came out before the cap was announced, so we were more saying like these are the potential sizes of the impact. We'll obviously do more modelling now that the cap is out there, but also with those existing policy objectives. They would get that demand curve under our total capacity for the 30-year time period. So we have not, because we are legally obliged in the VRIP to have all the locations that we need for 30 years of capacity. So we didn't add a new locations. You can imagine that could be a huge undertaking, but it really does signal that really important need for that strategic planning of residual waste and destinations, both landfill, energy for waste, and night diversion. Then when it comes to the regional opportunities, we have a look at what infrastructure is in the regions. We put the waste projections out there for each region. And then we're determining our opportunities, because again, we're not saying that this must go there, but informed by that place-based analysis and previous plans and also advice to government, we're then looking at saying, well, what are the opportunities that may be in this region for new infrastructure? What are the potential locations? And giving that as signals to the market. We have heard, again, that land use planning is a really key consideration. So what we, again, are obliged to identify is locations that are suitable for development. That is not saying this is where each piece of kit must go. So what we've done is we've taken a very clear approach of working within the existing land use planning framework. That is, after all, what it is there to do, is to guide where things go. So rather than coming over the top, we're working within that. So we're saying, well, what is that alignment with the existing strategies? Where can we co-locate existing things for operational efficiencies and also sharing things like buffers? Zoning and planning, looking at that buffer issues, transport considerations, and also kind of site size as well. That's almost a bit of an algorithm that you can kind of put things through as to where the locations might look. But that's all about new infrastructure. We're also very clear that protecting existing sites is so important because our future needs are based on what we've currently got. We understand that encroachment is a challenge. So there we're putting out very clear messages in the VRIP that all infrastructure is important, that we do need to make sure that we maintain that infrastructure. So we kind of mention things like the appropriate zoning, links to buffer guidance, that agent of change principle, which is something that was already there with quarries, but we've kind of made clear that we support that, and also some of the tools that you can use to protect the existing infrastructure, alongside all of the analysis that's in the document as well, making out that clear strategic case. So what does that mean in practice? As in Victoria, most of the state government planning, a lot of the state government land use planning, I should say, focuses on Melbourne. Is a bit more kind of, regionally focused in the regions. So we have started with Melbourne, but you can see there, that is the Melbourne Industrial and Commercial Land Use Plan, identifying those state significant industrial areas. And then when you put an overlay on top of where the infrastructure is located in Melbourne, it's no surprise that there's a strong correlation between the two. So we're starting that process of working within those land use plans, and also one of the actions that we'll get to is to put out some further guidance, probably later this year or early next year, looking at kind of taking up where we left off in the VRIP to help with that land use planning. It's definitely not a one-done strategy. So we've got these government focus areas. So it's definitely systematising it. Like I said, it's every 3 years we need to update and refresh the full VRIP. We obviously can't, there's a lot out there, so we want to focus on the problematic and emerging waste streams. Residual and hazardous waste is such an important part of this waste system that perhaps, the title is the Victorian Recycling Infrastructure Plan, but really kind of making clear how important that residual waste management and disposal is. Data and collection, because it's a very whistle-stop tour, this one, but some of the challenges in extrapolating from imperfect data and kind of making sure that we've got the best presentation of data to the market without always having the highest quality data coming in that we'd like, and that importance of land use planning. And then finally, continuing to work collaboratively with the sector, both on infrastructure planning, but more broadly in terms of waste and recycling policy. A key theme of the plan is supporting and informing investment. So we did put together an investment prospectus as a companion piece. It's not as long as the VRIP, which ends up being quite a chunky document, hopefully a little bit more friendly for those looking more of an investment angle. Definitely meant to be a modular approach, because we understand that it's a broad church and certain people are looking at certain sectors. So you can see we look at that kind of like global, why invest in the sector in Victoria, what are the investment opportunities in terms of some of the sectors. What we're trying to do is not do the kind of planning version of wish cycling, of just saying this is everything that we want, but maybe some of these are the things that are more the near-term opportunities, whereas in other ones it's really going to be the R&D and the long-term investment and development of capability that we're looking. The market development pathways, there's a number of agencies in Victoria that support market development, and trying to break out from just the circular economy box, but just more broadly. And then some of that regional perspective again, because it is, not everything can go in every region, but trying to minimise the truck movements, the transport, regional circularity is a good aim to have. Then finally, as I say, we are looking to be moving more to infrastructure planning as a service. We will do an update to the VRIP in 3 years' time, but it's not like we want to go into our shell and not say anything, do anything with the sector until then. So after we published, we went out and did some investment-focused roadshows. We did an event in each of our regions. We were at the Waste Expo in Melbourne in October. We're setting up a infrastructure working group, so that's actually gone out on LinkedIn. The expression of interest process has just begun, so and it's on our website too as well. We have to do an annual progress report for VRIP. We're looking at doing land use planning guidance, and of course we will be doing a new VRIP in 2027, which means we'll be consulting in 2026. So it really is one of those ongoing iterative processes. And whilst I understand we're doing questions at the end, I wanted to land on that slide because that QR code will take you through to the Victorian Recycling Infrastructure Plan webpage. So if anybody wants to actually kind of go there, look at the whole plan, please do visit our website. It's all on there. And indeed, as I said, I'm around for the rest of today, but if anyone else has any questions, please contact Recycling Victoria on that email address, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you very much.